For centuries, tales of giants have echoed through the valleys and mountains of the ancient world. From the Nephilim of the Bible to the Titans of Greek myth, humanity has long whispered of beings too large to be real, yet too persistent to ignore. What if those whispers were more than stories? What if they were warnings? In the forgotten outskirts of Thessaloniki, a young fossil hunter made a discovery that could change the way we understand our past and our place in the world. This is not just another archaeological dig. This is something far deeper, buried both in stone and in silence. This is The Bones Beneath, Kalogerakis' Secret, and the Giants of Thessaloniki. Adrian Kalogerakis was not like the other children in Thessaloniki. While most were busy chasing soccer balls through the dusty streets, Adrian was chasing shadows. Shadows of things that came long before him. From a very young age, he became obsessed with the past. His small bedroom was filled with stones he was certain were fossils, books about ancient civilizations, and pages torn from obscure magazines talking about lost species and forgotten worlds. His mother would often find him lying on the dirt, staring at the ground, convinced it was whispering secrets to him. Thessaloniki, the city where he grew up, is built on ancient bones. Layered beneath its Byzantine churches and Roman ruins are strata of time going back millions of years. Long ago, this region was submerged beneath the Tethys Sea, a vast prehistoric ocean teeming with life. Fossils of ammonites, ancient fish, and marine reptiles have been found here, preserved in the sedimentary rock. But that's just the beginning. In nearby regions like Thessaloniki and the Petrolona cave, discoveries go deeper. Woolly mammoths, cave bears, massive deer, hyenas, and even early human species like Homo heidelbergensis and Neanderthals. Some scientists have whispered theories of unknown hominins, small ones, minids, species that never made it into the textbooks. Life wasn't easy for Adrian Kalogerakis. He was raised by his mother, a kind but weary woman who worked long hours cleaning houses across Thessaloniki. His father had died when Adrian was just a toddler. Some said in a construction accident. Others whispered different stories, but Adrian never really knew. What he did know was the weight of survival. Money was always tight. There were nights when dinner was bread, olives, and little else. And yet, through all of it, Adrian kept dreaming of the earth. It was during one of those long walks in the hills just outside the city, barely 15 years old and trying to clear his mind, that he stumbled upon a stone shaped like a coil, impossibly smooth and perfect. He didn't know the term yet, but it was an ammonite. Curious, he cleaned it up and took it to a small antique shop by the port. The man behind the counter gave him 17,000 drachmas on the spot. Adrian was stunned. That single fossil was worth more than a week's worth of groceries. That was the beginning. By the time he turned 18, Adrian had only one goal in mind: to uncover what others overlooked. He was accepted into the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, not because of perfect grades, but because of his relentless passion. He devoured courses on paleontology, protohistory, and human evolution. While others studied to graduate, Adrian studied to dig. Somewhere between mythology and geology, he began to suspect that ancient stories weren't simply metaphors, but veiled accounts of real events. His mind started to form questions the academic world wasn't ready for. Questions about timelines, about species that never belonged, and about how someone, might have intervened. He began scouring the hills and forgotten paths, learning where the soil felt older, where the limestone cracked just right. He sold his finds discreetly to local shops, and then, one day, something shifted. A well-dressed man, foreign, maybe Swiss or Dutch, approached him outside the same portside shop. He said he was a collector. He didn't want coins or ceramics. He wanted bones, things that didn't belong. He gave Adrian a card, a number, and a promise. You find what others are too afraid to touch, and I'll make sure you're never hungry again. From that moment, Adrian wasn't just a student. He became something else. A seeker of the uncanny, a smuggler of forgotten time, and what he would find next would change everything. At first, the man only gave a name, Mr. Koenig. He had a soft accent Adrian couldn't quite place. It wasn't German, though the name suggested it. Maybe Swiss, maybe Dutch, maybe fabricated. Koenig didn't care much for typical relics. No pottery, no coins, he would say. I'm looking for anomalies. Adrian, desperate to support his mother and still obsessed with the secrets of the earth, began to take greater risks. He ventured deeper into caves, trespassed into protected areas, and once even bribed a museum guard to gain access to a newly uncovered dig site. Every time he brought something strange, something that didn't quite fit into the expected fossil record, Koenig paid double. And then the requests became more specific. He would say, "Have you ever seen teeth that seem too large? A femur too thick? Bring me that. Bring me something no textbook could explain." Adrian didn't ask why, but somewhere in his gut, he began to feel that Koenig wasn't just a collector. He was a believer in something old, something buried. Over the next 2 years, Adrian grew bolder. He forged credentials to access restricted dig sites. He learned to use acid baths and ultrasonic tools to clean delicate fossils without damaging them. He even hired a diver once to retrieve a submerged artifact in the Thermaic Gulf, what looked like a vertebrae, the size of a melon, with strange metallic mineralization. Koenig paid triple for that one. The money changed things. His mother no longer cleaned houses. She stayed home and tended to a small garden he built for her. Adrian moved into a better flat near the waterfront, where he kept a refrigerated storage unit and a set of tools so precise they'd make a jeweler jealous. He started buying from other diggers, local shepherds, even fishermen. Word spread. If you found something weird, you took it to Adrian, and not all of it went to Koenig. There were other names, other men, some shadowy, some academic. A French paleobotanist who paid handsomely for fossilized spores, shaped like spirals. A Lebanese art dealer who trafficked in Neolithic oddities. And a private buyer from Osaka who asked specifically for cranial fragments. In the darker corners of Athens and Istanbul, he began to be known by a nickname, the Shepherd, because he was the one who gathered the lost bones of a forgotten flock. But the more he handled these pieces, the more something inside him began to shift. Some of the fossils, they didn't just look strange, they felt strange, warm to the touch sometimes, or oddly light, with surfaces that reflected light like no stone should. By then, he had stopped thinking of himself as a fossil hunter. He was something else, a translator of buried things. He began to suspect, maybe Koenig was right. Maybe there was a missing chapter, and maybe it wasn't just buried. Maybe someone was making sure it stayed that way. For years, Adrian Kalogerakis thought he was just selling bones, rare fossils, strange relics. But one night, Mr. Koenig revealed facts that changed everything. In the shadows of his Thessaloniki office, lit only by the flicker of an old desk lamp, Koenig brought out a single tape, unlabeled except for a symbol drawn in red ink. Koenig said little. This you were never meant to see. What Adrian saw on that tape would haunt him for the rest of his life. And now, for the first time ever, the awkward truth presents. The Koenig tapes. Koenig revealed to Adrian that the recordings were made in 1971 during a secret expedition deep in the northern mountains of Greece. According to Koenig, after those initial events, no further sightings were ever reported. He warned Adrian, whatever had been there, had either hidden itself or had been hidden, but Adrian could not resist the pull of the unknown. He set out alone for the rugged highlands near Thessaloniki, chasing nothing but rumors and half-forgotten stories. For days, the locals refused to speak to him. Doors were closed. Questions went unanswered. Whispers followed him through the winding, narrow streets of forgotten villages. Until one evening, a woman took pity on him. In hushed tones, she spoke of ancient stones buried in the wilderness, ruins that did not resemble anything Roman, Byzantine, or even Hellenistic. Adrian organized a small team of local workers, paying them out of his own savings. They journeyed into the mountains, and there, amid thick fog and moss-covered boulders, they found it. A large stone half swallowed by the earth, surrounded by small ones. This place was marking something, and beneath them, he suspected there was something else. Bones, but not ordinary ones. They started digging, and their findings were astonishing. First, they unearthed a small skeleton, humanoid but far larger than any human child, nearly 6 feet tall. Even in death, Adrian named him Nico. Then came the adults. A male, whom Adrian called Andreas, measuring an astonishing nearly 14 feet in height, and a female, Eleni, slightly smaller but no less imposing, standing at almost 13 feet. A family of giants buried together, abandoned by history. For a fleeting moment, Adrian envisioned a fortune Koenig would pay for the 3 skeletons, but something deeper stirred within him, an instinct. Other thoughts came. Perhaps this discovery could change everything. He could leave behind the life of a looter and become a true discoverer, not just fortune and fame, but redemption. He catalogued each bone and prepared a meticulous presentation for the Paleontological Committee of Greece. He believed, naively, that the truth would speak for itself. On the day of the presentation, Adrian stood before the committee, filled with nervous excitement. He detailed the location, the stratigraphy, the forensic anomalies. For a moment there was silence, then murmurs, frowns, a tightening of jaws, and finally accusations. Adrian was branded a liar and a thief. They accused him of fraud, robbery, money laundering, smuggling of paleontological and archaeological artifacts, destruction of national heritage, fabrication of false evidence, conspiracy to defraud the government, illegal excavation and trafficking of antiquities, tax evasion, and desecration of cultural sites. At trial, the outcome was never in doubt. Witnesses he had trusted turned against him. Evidence vanished. The media painted him as a greedy man looking to exploit Greece's sacred past. After a short deliberation, the jury declared Adrian guilty on all counts. The government ordered the destruction of the remains, Nikos, Andreas, and Eleni, to protect the integrity of the national narrative. He was sentenced to 50 years in prison. The skeletons were packed into massive, reinforced crates, loaded onto trucks under armed guard, and moved into a federal storage facility in Athens. But when the shipment arrived at the storage facility, the crates were empty. No investigation was launched. The bones, and perhaps the greatest discovery of the modern era, vanished into the shadows,